They say blood is thicker than water, but loneliness will make you drink from any stream. I grew up quiet, the kind of quiet that made people forget I was in the room. I was the kid who read books during lunch and wrote poems in the back of my notebook. Friendships were a language I never learned, a dance I could never follow. Then came Serena. We met on the first day of college, two girls with different backgrounds but the same hunger for connection. She was loud, bright, the kind of person who could make friends in checkout lines and leave the cashier laughing. She saw me sitting alone on a bench outside the dorms, hunched over a copy of The Alchemist, and plopped down next to me. Is it worth it? She asked, her hair in a messy bun, her eyes sparkling. What? I replied, startled. The book. She grinned. You look like you're trying to find the meaning of life in there. I smiled, unsure, but she didn't seem to need an invitation. She opened her iced coffee, offered me a sip, and told me about her family, her ex-boyfriend who dumped her, and her plans to take over the world, all within the first hour of knowing me. For the first time, I felt seen. We became inseparable. We studied together, shared ramen on broke days, and whispered dreams under the stars on the dorm rooftop. She dragged me to parties, pulling me to dance even when I was too shy, whispering, "No one is watching, just live. Promise me something," she said once, drunk on cheap wine, tears in her eyes as she looked at me in our cramped dorm room. Promise what? I asked. That we will always be there for each other. No matter what. I hooked my pinky with hers. I promise. I didn't know promises could become prisons. When graduation came, we moved into a tiny apartment with squeaky floors and mold on the windowsills. We spent our nights on the balcony, watching the city lights blink like stars, planning trips we couldn't afford, and laughing over our bad takeout. We called each other sisters, but I should have known, blood ties can be cut, but betrayal comes from those you let closest to your heart. If I had known what Serena would take from me, I would have left her on that bench that first day, but I didn't. If Serena was the laughter in my life, Chris was the quiet warmth. I met him on a Tuesday I almost skipped. I was running late for work, coffee splashed on my blouse, hair thrown into a messy bun that Serena would have scolded me for. I ducked into a small bookstore to hide from the chaos of the world, inhaling the comforting scent of paper and ink as I tried to calm my racing heart. That's when I saw him. He was sitting on the floor in the travel section, flipping through a guidebook on Italy, his brows furrowed in concentration, a pencil tucked behind his ear. He looked up, and for a moment, the world slowed. Have you been to Florence? He asked, lifting the book slightly. I blinked. No, I stuttered, adjusting the strap of my bag, but I'd like to. His smile was shy but warm, and it made something in me soften, something that had been tense for far too long. We talked for 15 minutes that day, about travel, books, and how he wanted to try every coffee shop in the city. He walked me to the door, and before I could leave, he said, "Would you like to help me with that?" With what? I asked. Trying every coffee shop. He grinned. I laughed, the sound surprising even me, and nodded. Sure. Our first coffee date was awkward and sweet. He let me ramble about my dreams of becoming a writer, how I wanted to write stories that made people feel seen, how I wanted to create worlds where people like me could be heroes. He listened. Really listened. And when he looked at me, I didn't feel invisible. Serena was ecstatic when I told her about him. She squealed, grabbing my hands, jumping around our tiny kitchen. Finally. She yelled, "You deserve this, you know that, right?" She helped me pick out outfits for our dates, doing my hair, applying my lipstick with a steady hand, grinning. He won't know what hit him. When Chris came over for the first time, Serena made us all dinner, laughing and teasing him, asking questions about his job and hobbies. Chris fit in so easily, and I remember thinking how lucky I was to have them both in my life. It felt like the universe was finally giving me something good. Chris would leave notes for me to find in my bag. "I'm proud of you, you're beautiful, you're stronger than you think." Small words that carried me on days when the world felt heavy. Sometimes, he'd bring Serena her favorite chocolate when he came over, jokingly calling her, my second favorite woman, and Serena would roll her eyes, laughing, as it should be. We became a trio, spending weekends watching movies, cooking, playing board games. Chris would kiss me on the forehead when Serena wasn't looking, whispering, "I love you," in that quiet, sure voice that made me believe it. I let my guard down. For once in my life, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I let myself believe in forever. Serena would sometimes watch us with a strange look on her face, her eyes unreadable, but when I'd catch her, she'd smile and say, "You're lucky, you know that." And I'd smile back, saying, "Yeah, I know." I thought love was supposed to feel like this, easy, warm, and safe. I thought best friends were supposed to protect you, not envy you, but looking back, I see it now. The way Serena would sit a little too close, laugh a little too loudly, touch his arm when she didn't need to. The way Chris would glance at her when he thought I wasn't looking, the way he'd linger in the kitchen when she was there. At the time, I ignored it. I didn't want to be that insecure, jealous girlfriend. I trusted them. I trusted her. I trusted him. They were my home, and home is supposed to be safe, right? Serena's laughter used to be one of my favorite sounds. It was loud, unfiltered, and it had a way of making even the darkest days feel lighter. But as the days turned into weeks, her laughter started to sound different to me. It wasn't just the sound, it was when she laughed. She would laugh when Chris made a joke that wasn't even funny, throwing her head back, her hand lightly brushing his arm, her eyes glancing at him in a way that made something in my stomach twist. At first, I tried to ignore it. It's nothing, I whispered to myself as I washed dishes in the kitchen while they laughed in the living room. You're overthinking. But the small moments kept piling up like pebbles that slowly turned into stones on my chest. One evening, Serena came into the living room wearing one of my shirts, but it clung to her differently, shorter on her taller frame, exposing her stomach as she reached up to grab something from the shelf. Chris was sitting on the couch, and his eyes moved, just for a second, but I saw it. That quick flicker of his gaze, the way it lingered before he looked away and cleared his throat. Serena caught my eye and smiled, pretending not to notice. Babe, you don't mind, right? She said, twirling a strand of her hair around her finger. I couldn't find my top. It's fine, I lied, forcing a smile, turning back to my book, but the words blurred on the page. Later that night, I told Chris about it as we lay in bed, the moonlight spilling onto our sheets. Does it bother you? I asked quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. He sighed, pulling me closer. You're overthinking again, he whispered against my hair, pressing a kiss to my forehead. She's your best friend. She's like a sister. Sister. The word felt heavy in my chest, but I nodded because I didn't want to seem paranoid, but it didn't stop there. Serena started making private jokes with Chris, laughing about shows they'd watched when I wasn't home, using phrases I didn't understand, creating a world where I felt like an outsider in my own home. I'd walk into the kitchen to find them laughing, and they would stop, glancing at me, the air shifting. She'd brush past him, her hand grazing his back, and he would step away, clearing his throat, acting like it didn't happen. At dinner, Serena would ask Chris for help opening jars, even when I was right there, her eyes twinkling as he'd take it from her, their hands brushing, her fingers lingering for a moment too long. I tried to tell myself it was innocent, that it was just my mind playing tricks, but at night, I'd lie awake, replaying the moments, feeling the weight of doubt sink deeper into my bones. Serena noticed, she always noticed. You've been so quiet lately, she said one afternoon as we sat on the balcony, the city buzzing below us. Are you okay? I looked at her, studying her face, the way her eyes softened, how her lips curved in concern. I'm fine, I said, but the words tasted like ashes. She reached over, taking my hand, squeezing it gently. Don't ruin a good thing with your overthinking, babe. You have Chris. You have me. We're your family, remember? Family, sister, home. I nodded, blinking back the tears that threatened to spill. Yeah, I know. She smiled, leaning over to hug me, her arms warm around me, and for a moment, I let myself believe her. But that night, when Chris came home late, smelling of alcohol and something floral, claiming he had drinks with colleagues, I felt the doubt rise again, tightening around my throat like a vice. I looked at him, searching his eyes for the warmth I once saw there, but it was clouded, distant. He kissed me, his lips pressing against mine, but it felt hollow, like a ritual we were both performing out of habit. I love you, he whispered, but it felt like a lie. I love you too, I whispered back, but I wasn't sure if it was true anymore, because love shouldn't feel like drowning. And every day, I felt like I was sinking deeper, unable to find air, unable to find solid ground. Serena's laughter still echoed in our apartment, but it didn't sound the same anymore. It was a reminder of something I couldn't name, a shadow that moved through the corners of our home, whispering secrets I was too afraid to hear. I tried to hold on to what we had, to the family we had built, to the love I thought we shared. But I didn't know that you can't hold on to something that's already gone. I don't remember exactly when it started, but I remember how it felt. Chris began coming home later, the excuses flowing as easily as water slipping through fingers. Work ran late. Got stuck in traffic. Had drinks with the team. Each time, he would press a quick kiss on my forehead, drop his bag by the door, and walk straight to the shower without looking back. The warmth that once lived in his eyes was replaced by a distant fog, and every time I tried to look deeper, he would blink it away, replacing it with a tired smile. Long day, he'd say, but the words felt like a brick between us. I tried to believe him. But late at night, when I lay next to him, I could see the light from his phone screen glow against the dark. His thumbs would move quickly, and every time I shifted, he would turn the screen away. I told myself it was work emails. That it was stress. That I was being paranoid, but doubt is a disease. It spreads quietly, infecting everything, and no matter how hard you try to ignore it, it festers. Serena was always there. If I came home early, she would be on the couch with Chris, watching movies, sharing a blanket, their laughter echoing through the apartment like ghosts of the life I used to know. "Oh, you're home," Serena would say, smiling, pulling the blanket tighter around her shoulders, looking so comfortable, so at home. "Yeah," I'd say, forcing a smile that cracked at the edges. "You have to see this movie," she'd gush, patting the spot next to her, her eyes bright. "Chris and I were just saying how much you'd love it." Chris would look at me, nodding, but there was something empty in the way he smiled. I would sit down, squeezing myself onto the edge of the couch while they shared inside jokes about the scenes I didn't understand, whispering and laughing, Serena's hand occasionally slapping his arm playfully. Once, I caught her hand lingering on his knee, her laughter slowing as she looked at him, her smile softening into something I couldn't understand. Chris cleared his throat, shifting, and she pulled her hand back, looking at me with wide, innocent eyes. "What?" She laughed. "Don't look at me like that." I wanted to scream. Instead, I laughed. A hollow sound that didn't belong to me. One night, I tried to talk to Chris, to pull him back from whatever place he had drifted into. We sat on the balcony, the city lights blinking below us, the cold air wrapping around us like a warning. "Chris," I said, my voice shaking, are you okay? Are we okay?" He looked at me, his eyes tired, rubbing his face with his hands. "I'm just tired, babe," he said, "work is a lot. I need you to trust me." "I do," I whispered, "but I feel like I'm losing you." He reached out, taking my hand, squeezing it gently. "You're not losing me," he said, but he couldn't meet my eyes when he said it. The next day, Serena cornered me in the kitchen, her eyes narrowed, her lips pressed into a thin line. "What's wrong with you lately?" she demanded, crossing her arms. "What?" I blinked, taken aback. "You've been so weird. Sulky. Staring at me like I did something wrong," she snapped, her voice rising. I opened my mouth, trying to find the words, but they stuck in my throat. "Serena, I feel like things are changing," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "You're ruining everything with your insecurities, you know that?" Tears burned in my eyes, but I blinked them back. "I'm not trying to." She stepped closer, her finger poking my chest. "You have Chris. You have me. We're your family. And you're going to throw that away because you can't control your paranoia." "I'm not paranoid," I whispered, but the words felt weak, pathetic. She sighed dramatically, throwing her hands up. "You need to get it together, babe. Before you lose everything." She walked out, leaving me standing there, shaking, her words echoing in the empty kitchen. "Before you lose everything." That night, I cried in the shower, letting the water drown out the sounds of my sobs. I pressed my hand against my chest, trying to steady my breathing, trying to remind myself that I was loved, that I was wanted, that I was safe, but the water couldn't wash away the fear, the doubt. The feeling that I was standing on the edge of a cliff, and everyone I loved was standing behind me, ready to push. I came home early that Thursday because the world felt too heavy. The rain had soaked me to the bone, and all I wanted was warmth, safety, home. But when I opened the door, the smell of garlic and butter turned my stomach. Serena was in the kitchen, wearing his shirt, laughing softly as she stirred a pot. Her hair was damp, twisted into a bun, droplets glinting under the kitchen light. She turned, her smile faltering when she saw me, dripping rain onto the floor. Behind her, Chris stepped out of the hallway, towel around his neck, eyes wide, frozen. I don't remember deciding to scream, but it ripped from me, raw and broken, bouncing off the walls of the home I thought was mine. "How long?" I shouted, my voice shaking, tears burning down my face. Serena's lips quivered. Chris opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Please," he whispered. "We can explain." "How long?" I screamed again. "Months," he finally said, his voice small. Something inside me shattered. I ran. The rain washed away my tears as I stumbled down the street, memories crashing over me like the storm above, Serena laughing with me on the balcony, Chris pulling me into a hug, all the times I thought I was safe. I ended up at my cousin Tasha's, collapsing into her arms, sobbing until I couldn't breathe, until there was nothing left but shaking emptiness. The days after blurred together. Serena called, crying, "I'm sorry, please, you're my sister." Chris texted, "I love you, please, let's talk." I turned off my phone, but I couldn't turn off the voices in my head. Friends chose sides. Some messaged me with half-hearted, "I'm so sorry." Others posted pictures with them, smiling, living, while I felt like I was dying. At work, whispers followed me down the hallway. HR called me in, saying they had concerns. 2 weeks later, I was let go, told it was downsizing, but I saw the pity in their eyes. Nights were the worst. I would lie on Tasha's couch, staring at the ceiling, Serena's laugh ringing in my ears, Chris's whispers of "I love you" twisting into knives. I tried therapy, but the words stuck in my throat. I tried journaling, but the pages filled with screaming, why wasn't I enough? How could they? I can't breathe. Revenge felt like the only thing left. I dug up the screenshots Serena left on my laptop, messages with Chris, mocking me, planning, laughing behind my back. I sent them to HR, to family, to the friends who chose them. Serena lost her job. Chris was fired. Friends messaged, "We didn't know, I'm so sorry." For a moment, I felt powerful, but it didn't heal me. It didn't bring back the girl I was before they broke me. One night, Serena called again. "Please, babe, I'm sorry, I lost everything, I need you." I hung up. Chris emailed, "I'm lost without you." I deleted it. Life moved on without me. Tasha tried to pull me back, forcing me to eat, to walk outside, to live. But I was a ghost, moving through days that felt heavy, suffocating, endless. The whispers came at night, no more pain. No more waking up alone. No more remembering. I fought it for weeks, but the whispers won. That night, I sat at the small desk in Tasha's spare room, pulling out a piece of paper, my hand steady for the first time in months, to Serena. "I loved you like a sister. I hope it was worth it. Chris. I loved you. You took everything from me. Whoever finds me. I tried. Please don't blame yourselves." I folded the letter, placed it on the pillow, whispering, "I'm sorry." I swallowed the pill slowly, tears streaming, whispering to the empty room, "I'm sorry," over and over until the words faded. I thought about the ocean. About laughter. About the dreams I once had. And as the world blurred, as the whispers quieted, as the pain lifted, I felt it, peace.